Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Anime Soiree. Today, we are discussing the controversial final chapter of Attack on Titan. And today, we have a pretty large cast. We got myself, we got the usuals, Griffin and Will, and we also have Armin and Mason joining us today. And we all have some big thoughts on the ending of Attack on Titan. So, what did you guys think?
Let's let one of the new guys go first. One of the
Griffin, you have the
rookies.
wrong picture on the thing. You have 138 on your
Oh,
Twitch.
that's fine. It doesn't matter. I'll swap it. But let's let
Okay.
one of the new guys go.
I thought it was great.
I thought it was that was alright.
Yeah, not great, but it was better than what most people have been saying on Twitter.
Yeah.
I
think
thought it
it's-
was pretty good.
Yeah.
I thought it was fine. Kind of open ended, which I guess is like a preference that I was hoping for, and I'm glad that it wasn't like the world is saved or everyone died, and it was kind of more open ended.
I don't know. I think my major issue with it is just do it in like 3 more chapters. Like it just felt so rushed. Like that's definitely my biggest thing, and like I think a lot of the problems that people have could have been fixed easily with just spacing it out a bit and fleshing it out, with like fleshing some of the things out. Um, so yeah, not perfect, but I thought it seemed like it's what he wanted, how he wanted to end it. It just seemed like he did it very quickly, and that kind of dipped the quality a bit.
I think we should.
I can't believe that I'm the only person here who didn't like it.
Wait, what about it did you not like?
I mean, I didn't
I
love
think
it.
I mean, I thought most of it was pretty bad, but the thing that I thought was the most heinous was basically like the fact that Aaron was completely out of character in this chapter, and this basically just like this like undid like so like this was like a regression for Aaron, and like also like this like directly contradicts like a lot of previous characterizations we've gotten from Aaron. So that's probably my biggest thing.
All right. Well, what would you point out as the regressions? Like his moment when he was just simping for Mikasa.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like that was like one big thing. I mean, we'll like in the in like the most I mean, I guess it's like not the most recent episode of the anime, but like one of the later ones, the um the conversation that he had with like Armin and Mikasa. Um I kind of go back to that as like where he like says that he like has always resented Mikasa for being like so subservient and like for not being an enlightened freedom haver like Aaron, and he basically despises her for being a slave. And I thought that that moment was really good, like writing for Aaron, because like if you actually go back and like look, a lot of like Aaron and Mikasa's moments together were kind of characterized by like her like being really protective of Aaron, and Aaron kind of being like very like cold and like curt to her back. And so I thought that that was like good, like that it kind of and we think that like Aaron and Mikasa have this like really close relationship because they've like been together since like they were children, and they're kind of built like them and Armin are kind of like billed as like the main three, just like in like the the meta of the show, I guess, like kind of like how it's been marketed and stuff like that. But like if you actually kind of like after that, that revelation when Aaron says that, if you like go back and look, it's like it actually is backed up with like a lot of evidence. And so like this like definitely just like goes against like all of that. And that really upset me. But then the other
Wasn't
thing is that like this kind of like goes against like a lot of um like Aaron's convictions in that like he's not even able to come up with like a reason as for why he like as for why he did the rumbling at all. Whereas like previously Aaron was presented as like the a character who was like not willing to make any sort of compromises because he was like so stubborn in his ideals like to a fault that he was willing to like put like the entire world at risk just to protect like those who he was close to. So yeah, I think the biggest problem for me was like the way that Aaron was characterized in this chapter.
I
So
think
yeah.
sorry, going back to like the scene you were talking about, wasn't like the point of that scene that he was acting out of character because he was trying to push them away as much as possible, so he was being hyper aggressive more than he would usually be. And like that whole arc, I think the whole rumbling arc, which wasn't my favorite arc, but I think the whole rumbling arc, the idea is in the last chapter they're setting up is that Aaron was putting on a facade the whole time, that he was acting the tough guy when he really wasn't, and he was still just as undeveloped and childish as he was at the beginning of the arc, or before the arc, sorry, before the time skip. So I think like the entire idea behind that arc and behind that scene in particular was like Aaron's putting on a facade, and like I said earlier, like an Aaron POV chapter would have alleviated like this if that's what Isayama was going for. Like the fact that we don't get to see Aaron like actually being more vulnerable up until now is like it just it's I don't know, it's just poor writing, I'd say. But I don't know, it's just I think the reasoning is there. It just was not as fleshed out as it could have been.
Like I definitely like see people bring up the fact that like Aaron was trying to like distance himself from his friends because at that point he already knew what he had to do. And like that makes sense to me. But like what I thought was like clever about that moment was that it was kind of like doing two things at once. Like it was like revealing that like Aaron was trying to distance himself from his friends, but then like it also is kind of like the saying that like all like lies come from like a kernel of truth. Like the way that I saw it, like there was truth to what he was saying. Like maybe he doesn't like hate her or anything, but he definitely like resents like that aspect of her. And I thought that that was like good writing, that it was kind of like revealing, it was kind of like recontextualizing like moments from earlier on in the series, but then like this moment like just recontextualizes all of those moments like back to how it was before. So it's kind of like undoing like the that like cleverness, like the fact that like that moment was like doing two things at once. um so I don't know, maybe I was giving him too much credit at that moment, but like either way I thought that this like was not good for the series and for Aaron's character.
Um, I guess if we're talking about things we didn't like, for sure, I thought that in the last chapter, the whole I didn't like the end the way Ymir's story ended with her having like super Stockholm syndrome. Just it just felt kind of weird, and a little kind of gross because like he was like that is something that happens in real life, but I don't know. I feel like it was just a really weird end to that whole storyline.
I
Just felt
mean,
wrong.
I didn't mind it that much because
I know, yeah,
Ymir.
I didn't mind it in a vacuum, but like when you pair it with like how his story has been kind of sidelined, and then also how I think the way that I would have been okay with is like Mikasa's storyline just ends with her like perpetually mourning Eren, which is like what Eren wanted, but like also like for a story that talks so much about freedom, and like maybe that's a point Isayama wanted to make, but like for a story that talks so much about freedom, for Mikasa to end her character arc just like never getting over the loss of Eren is like pretty. I don't know. I didn't like her end to it. I think having a message where she finally moves past him and like becomes her own person would have been a great message. Those like two things in conjunction like really made me a little uneasy, I guess. That was probably my biggest gripe with the chapter.
I don't know. The way I saw it was Mikasa killed Eren, and that motivates Ymir to basically realize that her obsession with King Fritz it doesn't really matter. And then so she cuts off the power to the Eldians, right? The Titan power. She basically just like lets go. I guess she dies. I'm not sure. Um, but I don't know. I think that Mikasa kind of led by example for her, and that led a lot of realizations to Eren. And there's a lot of like I don't know, awareness of what other people are doing between those three, and it's kind of like a chain reaction. It's like, okay, well, Mikasa does this, and then Ymir realizes something, and then Eren sees Ymir and Mikasa and like what their relationship with their loved ones looks like, and I think Eren kind of crumples because he realizes between that interaction, like how much Mikasa means to him, and that she was like still willing to kill him, but I think she did that because it was the best outcome for him. It's kind of confusing, so that's maybe why I don't like it. I wish it was a little bit more explicitly stated in the manga, so that's probably my biggest gripe, because even trying to explain it out loud, I don't really like the way it sounds. I think a couple more chapters could have really nailed that point in, and instead, Armin and Eren just kind of like briefly talk about it in the beginning, right? So I would have liked it gone into depth a bit more. But I think the entire idea is fine. I just don't know why they rushed it, why they'd rush that dynamic, because it's really important, right?
Yeah, I mean, like the way that I see it, like Mikasa has kind of been like this entire series has been just like presented as being like really like clingy and like not I don't know, I guess kind of like not dependent on Eren in terms of like his like skills or whatever, because she is like established as like having Ackerman superpowers and being like super like defensive of him, but like kind of like emotionally dependent on Aaron.
Yeah.
And like yeah, like she does kill him in the end, but like I really don't think that like I don't think that she's grown as a character. Like I can't really like say like like she doesn't have an arc. You know what I mean? Like she has like she's been characterized in that way, and then she has like her one moment at the end where she like avoids that. But then we see like in the end, I mean, like we don't know for sure if she like never moves on from Aaron as like he says that he wants in like this last chapter. But like the fact that like the last thing that we see of Mikasa is like her still clinging on to the memory of Aaron, like it almost like kind of negates that growth, which itself I thought was kind of like out of the blue.
Mm, that's interesting. I just wish they would have explained it more, right? If we would have seen some more development and life after all of this goes down, and maybe Mikasa pursuing other things or other people. But yeah, I don't think what they
Yeah.
gave us was really satisfactory to show that Mikasa had taken something away from this experience other than I had to kill my friend, but I still really like him or love him or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, like the thing that I like always go back to with Mikasa is like way back in like the very beginning of the season, like or I mean not the season of the show, like in at Trost, when like everyone thinks that Aaron dies before he like does his transformation into like the Attack Titan. Like Mikasa for like a second she's like, holy shit, Aaron just got eaten. Like now like she kind of like breaks down for a second, but then she like finds the resolve to like keep fighting and stuff. So I like that's like a good moment for like Mikasa kind of like that would be like what she would do in the case where like Aaron was gone. But like that's in like a combat situation, you know, like she's still willing to like fight and everything. But like now, I mean, there's like potentially combat coming up, but I mean, we could talk more about that later, I guess. But like it's not against the Titans, and it's like going to be like a very like it's either like there's no conflict at all, like either they avert like the conflict with the rest of the world powers, or it's going to be like a very one-sided battle because they all have like technology that was pacing to out like outperform the Titans, and now they don't even, now Paradise doesn't even have the Titans to defend themselves. So yeah, it's like where does Mikasa go from
One thing I would like explained a little bit more is at the end of Aaron and Armin's conversation, they basically Aaron like says like, "Oh hey, like I'm gonna kill everyone," and then Armin's like, "Thank you for killing everyone for our sake." And like, I don't know, it's never really fully explained how killing everyone benefits them. Like,
it?
isn't there another
Yeah,
way to make Ymir realize that she can just let go and release all the people under the spell of the Titans? You know, is there another way that's better than killing 80% of the world to make this person realize something? It just seems
Are
so short-sighted.
Are we subscribers to the time loop theory here?
No.
no.
'Cause the time loop theory does explain that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
Okay,
thought. Wait,
you want
do you
to?
guys
I mean, if
think
you want to
Yeah,
explain
explain it.
then go
Explain
for
it.
it.
Explain it.
So basically, the time loop theory is saying that every time they do the wrong thing, they go back to a certain checkpoint in time and they have to try again and do something different. So there could be like a million timelines where Aaron doesn't kill everyone, but then it doesn't work, so then they get reset back in time. So eventually he tried this one and this one worked.
And
Oh,
like I have
I
two
okay.
mean,
things to say as well.
That's just
yeah,
like a short
go ahead.
version to explain that part.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
What do you think,
Um,
Mason?
Go ahead,
wait, so
Mason.
does everyone here think that the reason the Titans are gone is because Ymir saw the whole thing with Mikasa and Aaron and just released them? Because I was under the impression that like the Titans were stopped because the founder was killed while separated from the centipede.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's like something that could have, like, I think Griffin said it earlier, like, could have been elaborated a bit more. Like the giant worm guy, they were fighting it, and we didn't even like get to see it die. Really, it just died, and like everyone stopped turning into the Titans. And so whether that was just the worm dying or something with Ymir also, it just was. It felt very unexplained, I
that
I'll,
guess.
part was
I'll,
weird.
I'll re-explain my understanding of it. They killed Aaron, Big Worm Boy, and then Ymir sees Mikasa like she's the one who kills Aaron, and then she has a realization about her love for King Fritz. And then at that moment, she's like, you know what? If Mikasa is able to kill the one she loves, I can let go of the one I love. And then she basically lets go of her love for King Fritz and then simultaneously like gets rid of the Titans. That's my
I
understanding
feel
of
like
it.
I think she is known for a long time that she doesn't love King Fritz, but she was helpless. Something to do with paths. She was helpless to overcome that. She was a slave in paths, but Aaron let her go from paths, and yeah, something with either the worm or something. Like I never got the impression like that she just had some kind of uh realization, at least in the last two chapters, that
I kind of think that she did. Like I think that like the implication is that like Ymir um Ymir overcoming like her personal turmoil or whatever is what caused like the curse to go away,
Hmm.
because of the fact that like the curse doesn't exist. Like the worm has existed before Ymir like found the worm, like right in like the super long flashback, or like the flashback from a really long time ago. What caused the Titans is like the worm coming in contact with Ymir. So I think that like the Titan curse like exists as long as that like parasite host relationship like exists, and they both need to be alive for that to happen.
Yeah, that's what I
And like
thought too.
yeah, and so like I was under the impression that like Ymir, like even though she had died a long time ago, like she remained in paths, and like through like some paths bullshit, like um she like existed kind of like almost like ghost rules, you know, like how like ghosts, like when they have like in like a lot of like fiction, when like ghosts have some unresolved conflict in the mortal plane, they like can't move on, and like, you know, when like people help the ghosts like deal with it, then they like are like, cool, I can die now, and then they leave. I kind of view it as like being similar to that. And like the moment where she like realized that like, okay, I can like die now, is like the part where she's smiling when like Mikasa is like kissing Aaron's head after she killed him, because it's like showing that like Mikasa loves Aaron in the same way that like Ymir loved Fritz, but also that she was over to like she was able to like still kill him despite that, because like she knew that like it would be better for the world or whatever. So I think that like that was the moment where she was like, oh, if Mikasa can do it, then I can do it too. And that's why like Aaron says like, oh, it's like Mikasa who was like really the one who like showed Ymir that like
Exactly, because it
shit was good.
reinforces that Mikasa is like actually significant in the end, and that's why I personally was upset with her not developing beyond what they showed, because what she
Yeah,
did was
I
so
agree.
significant to herself and Ymir, and then to not really spend time to show that development other than Aaron wrapping a scarf around her. And I don't know, like it didn't imply that she was dependent on him, but it didn't imply that, I don't know, it's open ended, which is like okay, but just I don't know.
No, I mean I think it's like like I don't know if it is okay, because it's like I don't really think that like there are like I think open-ended endings are good if there's like enough kind of like clues to put together over the course of like what we do have to like have like a solid like, okay, like this is the direction that we're going in. But I really don't think that we were given enough with Mikasa. Like I don't think that like she has enough moments where it's like, oh, like you can say that like she's overcome her devotion for Aaron or whatever. Literally the only moment where that happens is like well, like I mentioned, like way back at the beginning, and then also when she like decides to kill him. um and it's like I don't know, I feel like those are like I already said, like one of them is like different because it's like she's still a fighter, she's still like a warrior, and like that's like the only way that she can find meaning. And then the other one is just like, you know, overcoming that for like a moment of strength, you know, like I just don't think there's like enough.
That's
I
fair.
wouldn't even call it open ended. It sounds like it's pretty clear that she's not the
I'm
one.
looking at the panels right now, and the last one of the last things she says is "I want to see you again," which
Yeah.
doesn't sound like a strong, independent woman to me.
Yeah,
She's very dependent on him, I think, at the end.
yeah.
um, Another moment that I thought was weird, and I actually have no explanation for, was when Armin said, "I'm the man who killed Aaron Yeager," in front of the like confrontation between the Marleyans and the Eldians after they defeated Aaron. And they were like, "Whoa, bro, you guys Titans?" They're like, "Dude, we're not Titans." And then Armin like storms ahead, and then he says, "I'm the man who killed Aaron Yeager." And I don't get that, because one, he didn't, and I don't also don't see the benefits of him making this claim. So
Well,
Well,
it's easier to well, A, Mikasa had walked away at that point, so she wasn't there, and it's also easier to say, oh yeah, this guy that you literally just physically saw fighting Aaron's Colossal Titan as his own Colossal Titan was the guy that killed him, as opposed to Ninja Ackerman lady that's already walked away. So I think that's just like easier for him to say, and then also it's there to say like I'm an Eldian and I'm the one that stopped this person that was committing genocide. So obviously it's not the Eldians that are bad, it's just this individual.
Yeah, I feel like there's just more because it wasn't just him. You know what I mean? Like there's a whole group of Eldians and Marlins. Like, hey, yeah, no, we all just worked to kill him. So you know, we know
Okay,
we
but
got.
like
Yeah, I don't know why he didn't say like we worked as a group to kill him.
Like I don't
Like
know.
I literally think that it's only because like there are a lot of moments like previously in the series where like a lot of weight has been put on Armin, and like specifically where like Aaron is like Armin is going to be the one who's like gonna save the world. Like at the during like the serum bowl when like they're deciding whether it's gonna be like Erwin or Armin who gets the serum to like live. Like he like breaks down, he's like Armin's gonna save the world. And so I literally think that it's just like this is like his save the world moment, because it's like, you know, he's able to like kind of like diffuse like this conflict between the you know, between like the Eldians and everyone else, based on like what Aaron has given them with like the like if we go on along with the idea that like all of this was to present like the Alliance as like the heroes, to like get rid of the hatred for Eldia. But like that just didn't work, because like we know by the end of the series, like all of the other nations are preparing to attack Paradise. And like the, you know, like basically like the closing thoughts that we get on it are from like Historia's letter, where she says like, I know that like only one like that this war, this conflict will only end when one side completely like annihilates the other. And Aaron says the same thing, even though he's the one who came up with the plan to like present the Alliance as the heroes, which would like hopefully like get rid of the conflict and not kill everyone. um so it's like that's another thing that like just really makes me upset. Like I wouldn't even be like opposed to the idea of like Aaron being like, all right, like I'm setting myself up to die so that like we can have peace in the future. But like the ending does not in any way imply that there will be peace in the future. It's actually implying the opposite. So it's basically implying that like Aaron did all this for no reason. Like not only does he say that he doesn't even know why, but it's like the actual ending itself is implying that like it was pointless and Eldia is just going to die regardless.
Well, I don't think it was pointless because if Aaron's planet succeeded, then all of Eldia's enemies are dead. So the fact that they stopped them, now that 80% of the world had been killed, like Eldia's in a lot better of a foothold to fight them. And I think they even say that like now that Paradise is like one of the stronger powers in the world now, that they were completely untouched by this and they had already like militarized under the Jaegerists. So even though Aaron's plan failed, like Eldia's on a much stronger foothold in the world now that uh, this event occurred.
Yeah, I would
So,
disagree like on a couple notes. Like I think that like, well, for one, you say like if Aaron's plan had succeeded, but like Aaron is basically saying that his plan all along was to only kill 80% of the rest of the world.
well, no, his plan was to genocide the world, but he knew he was going to be stopped.
Yeah, that's
He
what
Oh,
literally
Kyle's
well,
says
saying.
like, I knew I was going to be stopped, and even if I didn't know I was going to be stopped, I still wanted to do it. But like, I don't know. It's like the base
yeah.
plan was to kill everybody but Eldia.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's kind of like this is why I'm like not a huge fan of like the particular powers of the founding titan, allowing him to see the future and the past, because like it really gets muddy like when you even try to pin down like what Aaron's like motives actually are. Like he kind of isn't even a character anymore, because like he just knows what's going to happen and all he has to do is just play along. So it's like it's really hard to like even say like what his motivations are. And like especially because he even says that he doesn't know what his motivations were the entire time. So it's like he's just like, and that's the thing about like this whole thing being like predetermined, is that like he's like he like in order for something to be predetermined, like there are like a couple ways you can do it. Like one is like in a story like have literal gods. Like that's how like the, you know, Greek tragedies happen. Like the gods would literally just fuck with mortals, and it's like at least they have like motivations for like fucking with the mortals. But like in this case there are no gods, so everything that's predetermined has to just be because like as a result of like previous things that had happened and stuff. But like it just doesn't make sense like why Armin or why Aaron would just like want to genocide the world if he can't even explain why. Like it may have been inevitable, but like it would only be inevitable if he had wanted to do it in the first place. But like he's basically saying, I don't even know why I wanted to do it. So
I
yeah, that's kind of
I agree with you on the basis that like the state that the world is in right now is not very promising. Like
yeah.
it would make sense if the world was like in a really good spot right now, but like you basically have a
Mhm.
militarized paradise, and I guess like Historia is going to be in charge, and I guess that's like that's fine. But you killed 80% of the world, and there's still a 20% minus paradise that definitely wants to kill all of paradise, and I
Yeah.
just they didn't make it seem like the world was like saved for anyone, not even parodies. So I just don't get, like, you got rid of the Titan curse, great, but honestly, like, the Titan curse wasn't even that bad anymore because people had fucking guns and cannons and they could kill Titans pretty
Exactly.
easily.
Yeah.
So it's like you solved the smallest problem on the table. What you should have gone for is like resolving like the resentment for Eldians and like getting people to understand that they're the same as Marlians, not getting rid of the curse, because now it's just
now they are the
parodies.
same though.
I
Yeah,
know,
think
I
the
know,
assumption
but
was
like
that they might
literally,
recognize that they're the same.
I know,
Well,
I know, but we
like,
saw that like there was literally a crowd of people in Paradise that like, I'm willing to fight or die, and immediately after they killed the Titan, people were like threatening to kill the people that just killed the Titan. So I don't think it's gonna be that easy.
But I mean, they obviously got out of that by coming to an understanding because everyone lived. So unless they killed all those Marlians that were there, like threatening them, which they didn't because they were all those guys had guns, they had to have come to an understanding by saying like we are the same.
I mean,
well,
correct,
yeah, but
but
like that, the coming to an understanding between like the maybe like 20 soldiers that were there and like however many like LD or however many Eldians were there, like 50 or so. I don't know. I'm just pulling those numbers out of my ass. Is like completely different from like solving armed conflict because like that's essentially what Paradis would have to do in order to survive because like they made it clear earlier on in the series that like everyone else's technology like the lady from Hizuru said like basically everyone else's technology like even if like you had people that were like helping you out, it would take you guys like 50 years to catch up like on like a military basis to the rest of these people. And so like yeah, like they may have been a little devastated by having like 80% of their like nations be like destroyed, like everyone's dead, but like they still have their technology, like they still are like way more advanced than them. And it's like 20% of the rest of the world, like Paradise is a tiny island. Like they probably outnumber them too. So not only are they outnumbered, but they're also outgunned because like they have worse technology than them, and they don't even have the Titans anymore. So it's like really like the best plan would have been like the 50-year plan that was like outlined earlier, where it's just like, all right, we should just like do mini rumblings and kind of like stave everyone off until we can catch up to them for like technology purposes. So it's just like it seems to me like Paradise is in like a worse situation now, especially since we haven't even like established that like the peace talks that like are about to happen will be successful. And it's like if that's true, then maybe, but like I just like the way that it's presented, it really doesn't seem like they are because it says like, okay, the only way that this conflict will end is like one side will be wiped out and the other ones will.
yeah, I'm in agreement with that the world is in a worse, if not just the same state it was. Like it's not that much better, and I don't really think it justifies what Aaron did, and that's just why I'm confused about somebody who's omnipotent would choose that plan just for what the end result of the Titans being gone, because that's what was achieved, and it just doesn't seem like enough to justify killing the majority of the world. Like it just doesn't seem like enough. Not enough was accomplished. Obviously, like the story is not done. I don't know if they'll make another series about it. That would might
I mean, I think it is done. Like this is the last chapter.
I mean, I feel like there's a lot more to be told, though. You know what I mean? Maybe
Well, that's
with
what makes it a bad ending.
I know.
I think it's definitely done. Yeah, I don't think he has any plans. I mean, he might cash out, or it might not even
I
be a
wouldn't be
cash out so
surprised if
much
they
as
had somebody else like Isayama is not going to write anymore. I don't think. Like I wouldn't be surprised if like they just because it's such a successful property, if they had like some other person like pick it up. But like that would like I would basically consider that as just like fan fiction because it's like not coming
Yeah.
from Isayama. It's just like it's literally just made because it was popular.
They
Like
sh-
if that even happened.
They should make a
So-
movie after this. Call it End of Attack on Titan.
I think we talked about that last time.
Yeah, and I believe it even more now because they were close, but I don't think they wrapped everything up in a way
I mean,
that
there's a very decent possibility that they might. I mean, I think what they'll do at the ending is just flesh it out a bit more. Like I think they will take their time and pace it out, but I don't think they're gonna change anything, and I'm okay with that because I'm okay with the story beats as a whole. I just think how it was executed could have been a lot better, just pacing wise.
I started this show today without not very strong feelings on the ending, but now I don't think I like it after just talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that my biggest problem is like with Aaron, as I said earlier, like just the way that he's characterized in this, and like the fact that like Aaron was the person that like knew everything, kind of like makes it so that like my problems with Aaron just like extend to everything because like he knew how this. I mean, he didn't know how it was going to end because apparently he said he can't see anything past his own death. Um, and I mean, I assume that that's also because like the Titans curse is over, so like he doesn't have paths powers or anything. But like, I don't know. I'm just like not really like satisfied with this.
Something they could have done is framed it so that Aaron really thought he was omnipotent, but Ymir was like, I guess, entranced him to just like fulfill this plan so that she could come over like her turmoil. And she's basically a god, so like I could see like a deity. I mean,
Aaron's not omnipotent either. He's
I
definitely
don't
not
think. Yeah, I
omnipotent.
don't think Aaron's
He's omniscient. He's
omnipotent.
omniscient.
sorry,
not
sorry.
omnipotent.
Okay, relax, guys. Jesus Christ.
There's a big
Well,
difference.
I mean, it's a pretty big difference.
Okay, yeah, there's a difference, but
Well, honestly,
okay.
this is another thing.
Omniscient.
This is another thing that like makes me mad is that like he's like not omniscient, but he has a lot of powers because he can like change. Like they said that like through paths you can like change physical properties of people. Like when Zeke was talking to like the when he was talking to what's his name like Casaver like in the flashback, he was saying like oh like there was like a virus and then like through paths they were able to just make it so everyone was immune to the virus. Like I still don't understand. Like they never explain throughout the entire series like why you can't just like make it so that people don't turn into Titans anymore, and then that would basically solve the problem.
Well,
Like
wasn't that a
we
very
had to go
specific
through all of
situation?
this.
Like it was the royal family that had that, so like nobody had really come up or wanted to execute a plan where they had said nobody wants to become a Titan anymore. Up until
Well, I
like
mean, why
this
would
group
like
of
I don't
people.
understand why Zeke wouldn't want to do that or like
Isn't Ymir the
Aaron.
only one who can do that?
Yeah, I mean maybe that's one of the properties like you can affect. Like that's something they could have gone into more for sure.
It
But
would have been really nice to get like one line about that. I mean, like for one, it's like how would they know? But like maybe like it could have been done better if like Zeke was like, all right, this is like a big if, but like my plan, because Zeke seems like the one who's like the most like uh I don't know. I don't know. Maybe not. Like Zeke definitely has like motivations about like just hating life, I guess, and so he just like doesn't care that like no one else is going to be born. But like it would have been nice if like somebody would at least like mention the fact like maybe we should just try like deleting the Titan gene, and then like if that doesn't work, which like obviously like they should just make it not work because that wouldn't lead to like a very interesting story because that would just solve everything. But like it would have been nice to at least have that addressed because like now it just sort of seems like that was like a big like loophole, like it was
I
just
mean I
like
feel
something
like if Zeke knew that like he knew about like changing your genes because he wanted to make everyone sterile, but like if you knew about like the opportunity to just delete the Titan curse, like that seems like a much more straightforward plan. So I'm gonna
yeah.
guess that that just wasn't an option, and I guess he somehow knew that that wasn't an option.
Yeah, it's
But
just
yeah,
like
it
how
definitely.
like I would have liked a way to know how he knew if
Yeah,
like
I
that's like the
mean,
head
yeah,
canon,
the
um,
whole
but I don't know, that's whatever, that's not
the
a
whole
huge
Titan
deal.
curse in general is very vague. Like this was the worm guy just a god that was able to give powers? Like where did the Titans
Yeah,
come from? Like
I actually kind of
the
think this is like the
science,
problem
it's
about like
very hard to
offering
put
a
like any scientific thought into it.
yeah, this is the problem about like offering a partial explanation with like the worm because it just like opens more questions,
The
like
worm
if
was
they
not
just said
necessary.
like oh this is just not explained, like these people for some reason just are Titans and like and like one day it just awoken, like that would be better because then we wouldn't be able to like ask about well like what's the deal with the worm,
Yeah,
because like in the end it wasn't really like there was no point to it other than just like it was the plot device that like allowed everything to happen, but like
Well, it allowed them to fight something a bit more physical, which was kind of, I don't know, lame.
I mean, there's so many ways you can do that though, you know. Like,
Yeah,
you could
no,
just
I'm not
have, like,
saying it's a good thing. I'm just saying I think the
yeah,
worm could have been left out entirely, and would have been
yeah,
completely
I
okay
agree.
with it.
There are definitely a lot of things in the Rumbling arc that I think could have been left out, like replaced with more character stuff. Because like a lot of it was just like, oh, we need to like go here and like do this and like blow this up, and like it's like that's, I mean, it's fine, but it's just not the most interesting. Like Attack on Titan, I know is capable of so much more. You know, like the stuff that was just adapted into anime was like great. Like just going through like all of these different characters, like motivations and like how they approach this problem that like has no perfect solution was awesome. It's just like I really think that like how it ended up just was kind of, it was just fumbled, you know.
It's kind of epic that Historia's kid is not Aaron's kid.
I mean, that's another thing that could have just been left out. Like, I'm okay with it not being Aaron's kid at all. Like, I'm 100% okay with it. But they were like weirdly focusing on Historia sometimes, and it was just like,
Yeah.
And I would have been okay with it. Like, just I would have wanted it to be something more important than it was, because it was weirdly
Yeah.
focused on, and like I'm okay with it not being Aaron's kid as long as they explain why it was so important. And I get why it was important for the previous arc with like her not wanting to be able to like have to eat Zeke or whatever, is like once she has the baby, like they don't want to have her do that, so that gets her out of
Mhm.
that. But then they like after that they just like weirdly focused on it, and I was just like, is this going to be important? And ended up not being important. So
It
Yeah.
seems
another thing that
oddly
just could have been left
irrelevant.
out.
Yeah, it just seems so irrelevant to like what, like I like okay, like the Historia's kid is not Aaron's. Like what does that
I mean, it
mean?
doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
It's not Aaron's. Like,
I know it does. It just doesn't matter, and it's
it
just
doesn't matter
weird.
at all.
I just don't understand what the significance is.
I kind of feel like it was like the attempt was to have the baby like have thematic importance, not plot importance. And like I think it would have worked better if like the world would have been, if it was a more optimistic ending, because it was like, oh, like these are the people that like we're making the world better for this tangible person, like Historia's baby, and people like her. But like I don't think the world is better, so it's actually like just like the way I see it, there's not really much thematic importance to it, and there's not much like plot importance, so it's like why, you know.
Yeah.
I don't think I really have anything else to add. I feel like we exhausted. Does anyone have anything else to talk about?
We haven't really mentioned like Levi and Gabby and Falco.
Oh, I guess, but they're just not even.
They're
They're just not
smaller
even
characters.
relevant. But yeah, we could talk.
Well, I mean,
about them.
I think they had a pretty good ending to their whole thing. Like, I think the whole Gabby Falco situation was pretty satisfactory. Levi had a pretty good ending with his whole seeing of the dead Cervicor, and then they get to that nice moment with Sasha. It was just, I don't know. I thought they had a pretty nice ending to their.
What is the Gabby Falco ending? I don't remember.
Falco
They
and
just
Gabby
aren't Titans anymore, I
they
guess.
aren't Titans, and they don't have to worry about like Falco's whole thing was saving Gabby from having that curse and that 13-year lifespan, and they were able to resolve it, I guess. And I don't know.
I guess
But,
when
like,
Levi
they didn't really resolve it. It was more just that it was resolved.
I guess when Levi like saw the people, I guess that was kind of a cool shot. But and then he's just like in a wheelchair, just like kind of ironic.
He's not even paralyzed. He's just in a wheelchair.
I mean, Levi definitely, in my opinion, has like he suffered the most, and he basically got nothing for it.
Yeah.
So
I think he's the
like,
most
there's
tragic character.
Yeah, probably. I mean, like, I think maybe the attempt was to make Aaron more tragic, but I don't think that it was a successful attempt. So I would say, yeah, probably Levi. Just because, like, the speech that he gave, like, in the one of the episodes that was recently animated was like all about like we gave so much for Aaron, and like look where it's got us. He's like betraying us and everything, and like that basically just like is where his plot ends up. You know, like he basically is still like regretting like all of the decisions that he's made because like it was for nothing basically. Like Aaron just kind of ended up fucking them over.
That's a good point, Kyle, because I think that's actually probably where my biggest gripe with this ending that I didn't even realize is everyone's emotions seem off. They gave up so much for just like so little. And like with that conversation with Aaron and Armin, where Armin is just like, I already said it, but he was like, "Thank you for genociding the world for us."
Yeah.
And it's just like, dude, that's not how I would react at all. I'd be like, bro, like, that's not worth it. Think of a new plan. Killing 80% of the world to get rid of a curse for 13 people is not worth it. It's not worth it at all. And
I mean,
everyone,
the alternative was that they just didn't have a plan, which is why I guess that's the base motivation because everyone else was floundering for a plan.
I mean, there has to be a
No,
better
there was a
one.
better
And that
plan
was more towards
proposed.
towards the first half of this arc, but it's whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I think that there were better plans that were proposed. Like basically every plan was better than this. I mean, it makes sense that like that those plans didn't happen because like Eren wasn't down, but like the fact that Eren in this chapter basically said that like he could not give an explanation as for why he was not down for the other plans and why he was so committed to this, just like retroactively makes it like why did we not go with those plans? You know, like
I'm telling you, dude.
I'm not even a fan. Oh, go on.
You watched the
time
video,
loop theory,
Armin?
it explains it, yeah.
No, but the time loop theory is just like a get out of jail free card.
It is,
It's basically
but it's like the only thing that makes sense.
I mean, I think
that's what makes this bad. That's what makes this
I'm not
bad,
saying,
right?
yeah, I'm not
It's
saying
like,
I like the fact that that's it that works, but like it's the only thing that makes sense to me.
I mean, what I was
Yeah.
trying to say earlier before you guys shit on me for saying omnipotent instead of omniscient. I think it makes sense that Ymir like used Eren and Mikasa to basically break her mental hangup with King Fritz. I think that makes sense to basically convince Eren to do this so that she could have an opportunity to escape the pain she's in. And I just like, explain one of them, have an explanation for this, and they just decided not to. And I think that there's multiple avenues, whether or not they're satisfying. It's better to have one than just have this open-ended mess of no justification for genocide because you felt like it to help your friends. So dumb.
yeah. Like, I actually think that like Ymir, if they had like said Ymir was controlling Eren the entire time, that would have been better. Because then it was like they never actually say like Ymir was controlling Eren. I think the implication is that Eren was like a slave to like the concept of like determinism, that like that free will doesn't exist and like because he can see the future, he knows that. But like it, like free will only like we think like free will is an illusion, right? Like or at least like if you believe in like determinism, like you would believe that like free will like we think that we have free will, but like in actuality because our minds are just like a really complicated computer, like if you could figure out what we're going to do like if you knew everything years in advance like Eren does. But like the reason that we think that we have free will is because like we think we have like motivations and stuff. But like the fact that Eren was not even able to provide any, like it makes it so that it's like not even like it's just like in this world there is no illusion of free will, I guess, because nobody has any motivations and like no one like like Eren is just not able to come up with anything. I don't know. It was just really frustrating.
Should we do ratings for this for just the whole show? I'm down to do that for the whole manga, I guess I should say.
Sure.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Armin or Mason?
I really don't know what I would rate it.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean it's kind of hard to rate it because I think my only gripe with like the entire manga would be like how the very ending, like literally, like people always compare this to Game of Thrones, which I think is stupid because like I think
it's better than Game of Thrones, that's for sure.
Oh, 10 million times better. But like the thing with Game of Thrones is also like the decline happens so much earlier. Where this one, like I agree that like the ending's not perfect and I think it could have been done better, but like it was literally just like the last maybe 2 chapters or 3 chapters for me at least.
Wait,
So
Kyle.
like when I'm reading an entire manga like that, like how am I like if the first 136 chapters were nines out of tens and the last 3 chapters were I don't know 6 or 7s out of 10, like I'm not gonna give the entire manga 6 or 7 out of 10 just because of that.
Well, I mean, you could
I
just
think
say
it kind of depends on the type of manga. Like, I would say that like for a series like Attack on Titan, where so much is, like a lot of the appeal is like not knowing what's going on and like having the pieces to attempt to figure it out. Like, for most of the show, we don't know the truth of what's going on. And like even once we find out, we find out that there's like a huge world of like there's like a bunch of different characters and they all have their own views and stuff, and we don't really know like how they're thinking. And in a lot of the situations we get like we learn more truths and we're like, oh wow, like my perception of this character is like completely recontextualized. So I would say that like a lot of like the like this, I would say that Attack on Titan, in short, is like a series where the ending matters more than a lot of other series, just because like so much of it relates to like the mystery of what's going on in the moment, and then like later realizing like, oh wow, like it all fits together. But I would just say that like the last piece, like the ending, it it didn't all fit together, and like in fact, I would say that like it kind of retroactively made some parts worse.
But I didn't feel like personally I didn't feel like it did recontextualize like a whole lot of characters. Like it definitely recontextualized Aaron. Like going back and rewatching the show is definitely
Yeah.
gonna be different because like Aaron's a lot different after the last chapter. But like I don't know compared to like compared
Well,
to
I mean,
Game of
he is the
Thrones
main
earlier. But like
character.
yeah, exactly. But like I don't know. It just it feels so weird to rate something like this. You know.
I don't know.
Like,
It
rating
it
the whole
did recontextualize characters for me because remember how upset everyone was when Aaron forced them to attack Marley, and now they're all cheering him on for killing 80% of the world. Like they're looking at him
Well,
like he
I
saved
thought
them.
Kyle was getting at it as like it recontextualizes them in a worse light, and for me it wasn't a worse
It,
light.
it,
It was
it
just a different
does.
light.
I think it objectively, has a group of people being okay with genocide, which I don't find satisfying or making any sense.
I mean, even if they're like, regardless of if they're like good or bad people, like I think there's like a good way to do that, to like recontextualize characters to either become good or become bad. Like if there's like, if there's like proper setup where it's like, oh, like, they were actually clues. Like if you go back, if like this makes sense, because then it's like more satisfying, like on a reread. But like, I don't know, the way that I see it, like this kind of just like doesn't make sense with like a lot of previous moments, and that just like I would say that's like bad writing. Like recontextualizing something just for the sake of doing so, rather than like recontextualizing something in a way that like is actually consistent, and like if you were particularly attentive, like you might have been able to put that together. Like I don't think there's any way that anybody could have like, there was no theory like, wow, like Aaron is actually like secretly like a huge simp for Mikasa. Like no one had that theory because it just wasn't there. Like there wasn't any clues for it. Like it wasn't set up in any way, and that's why it feels like so out of left field when like that's the only motivation that we get for Aaron in like the last chapter.
I'm just reading this panel, and it's just Armin says, "You became a mass murderer for our sake." And then Aaron says, "I promise I won't let this error go to waste." And like he did let it go to waste. And I don't understand why Armin is so happy that he's killing so many people. It's just blowing my
Yeah, especially since
mind.
Armin is like the one who's the most dedicated to like peace. He's always been the one who's like, we can talk our way out of this. Like there's a solution where everyone gets along.
It's so out of character. It doesn't make any goddamn sense. All right. Well, do we just want to rate this as an ending to the rest of Attack on Titan then? How satisfying we think this is a conclusion to, I guess just like maybe just season 4 or the last arc.
I mean, I think rating it as an ending is fine. Yeah.
Um,
I'd probably, if we're gonna start the ratings now, I'd probably give it like a 6.5, just because I've said this probably 30 times, but like the pacing was just horrible, and like all the problems that you guys brought up could have like just take some time and actually develop those earlier, or add a few chapters to get those developed better, and just get rid of those stupid stuff with the worm, and it's just like these random smaller things that just didn't need to be there. The story's baby didn't need so much focus on it, or if it did have the focus, like give it some more importance. It doesn't have to be Aaron's kid. It just has to be a bit more important, either as like a direct plot point or more symbolic. Because Kyle did bring up like it could have been a symbol for freedom or whatever, but like it didn't feel like that at all. So yeah, just take some more time, pace it out better. 6 out of 5 or 6.5 out of 10 as an ending.
Armin, Mason, do one of you want to go first?
For rating the ending,
Yeah. Is this a satisfying ending?
the ending specifically, I'm gonna say like as soon as they introduced time traveling or time, like I don't know exactly how to explain, but like just time in general
Yeah.
as a concept, I started hating the show, to be honest, because it's impossible to make it satisfying. I feel like anytime time travel or anything like that is
I
involved. So
100% agree, Armin. Like there's so
yeah,
like it's so hard to like
because
actually
it's
do it
just like
right.
you can't even imagine it in real life, so it's so hard to make it satisfying.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah,
And like, there's so many theories for like how time travel works, and like, unless you
Yeah,
establish the rules of your time travel effectively, like, I can agree with that for sure. Yeah.
there's like
yeah.
no established rules.
Nason.
Yeah, I mean, it was a little bit of a messy ending, but I didn't think it was that bad. I feel like a lot of the stuff you could kind of like. I saw Aaron dying probably like 10 chapters ago or so. Like I was ever since he burst out of Marley and like attacked. I was like, oh, they're just gonna make Aaron out to be I feel like I saw a few of the stuff coming. I wasn't too surprised by a lot of it, but I don't think it was that bad. I'd probably give it like a 7. It was a little messy though.
Kyle, do you want to go, or do you want to go last?
Sure. I mean, like I don't know. I really like don't think I can give this like above like a 5. I don't know. Like I really don't think that this was like a good ending. Um, I guess there are like some redeeming qualities. Like I at least like I don't know. I like the fact that like that it's like kind of it doesn't I was really worried for a lot of it that this was going to like betray like the kind of um like not like dark tone that the rest of the manga had, but like I would say that like the series as a whole has like a very like even though it's not a realistic series, it has like a realistic understanding of like conflict. I would say that like there's not always like an easy solution. Like sometimes you have to make like hard compromises, and I do kind of like that like the ending they like aren't able to overcome like they're not able to stop the cycle of hatred, or at least like it's open ended as to like whether like it did. I kind of like that aspect of it. I just like I said, like I think my biggest problem, as I said a couple times, is how like Aaron was characterized in this, and I kind of think that like it kind of retroactively makes a lot of like the Aaron stuff like less interesting and good. So yeah, I mean there's good things, but like there's bad things too. Um, yeah, so like I don't know, probably like 5 out of 10 at most.
Um, yeah, I mean, like, it's no shock that I'm on like a similar. Uh, I'm thinking similarly. I just think that this, across the board, just doesn't make any sense to me. All the characters, I think, just reacted to genocide so happily, and they thought that all their problems were solved when very clearly what Aaron did, I really think solved one problem. It's got rid of the Titans. And to me, for that to be the final solution to this like very, very in-depth show just doesn't really satisfy me at all. And everybody being happy about that satisfying ending, it's just like such a miscue from the author. It's weird. It's really jarring for me to read this. And I mean, I think Levi and the minor characters, like their actual endings themselves were fine, but once again, just how they reacted to this, especially Armin, like praising Aaron, is just so weird, and not really explaining anything at all. And Aaron can't explain it. I just feel like there's a lot of things that they needed to take their time to answer, and then also like just change completely. I I think I'm gonna give this like a 3. Like this is dog shit. This is bad. Um, yeah, it's unfortunate because I think the rest of the show, and I think we all agree, the rest of the show is really good. But about halfway
Yeah.
through season 4, Armin, I think you were right when they introduced time. They just started throwing out questions to things that you need answers for that they'll never be able to answer, and that's just the problem. And yeah, unfortunate. But
I don't know. Maybe I might bring this down to like a 4 just because like I really can't say that there are equal like there are some good things about it, but I don't think that there are equal good things and bad things. I'd say that the good probably do outweigh the bad. So yeah, maybe like a 4. But yeah, I mean I agree. Like I think that like time travel is like whenever it's in a story, it just always makes me really nervous. And like most of the time it doesn't work. Like there are like a handful of stories that I would say like do time travel well. And like I would say that this was them. I guess it's not time travel, but it's like information traveling through time. Like it's like
Yeah, exactly.
knowledge of the future.
Any sort of time messing around.
Timey
Yeah,
wimey
yeah.
shit.
For reference
Timey
though,
wimey.
I'd probably give the final season of Game of Thrones a 1. So I think that was worse than this for sure.
Wait, Griffin, I'm
Yeah, but
curious.
it's not the
I'm
worst.
curious because like I was talking with I think it might have been in the same chat, but like for Game of Thrones, like after I saw the ending, like I have zero desire to ever see anything Game of Thrones ever
Yeah,
again. Like,
yeah.
I have no desire to ever watch it again. I have no desire to watch clips on YouTube of again. Never a desire to read the books, just because I know. I mean, I guess unless the books had like a really good panned ending, and then I only read the books. But like for this, like I'm excited to see this animated.
I'll watch it
I'm
animated.
excited to see what they do it, and I think I will eventually go through and watch the whole show again, and maybe read. I don't know if I'll read the manga again, just because like
Ooh.
I'm not sure. But like, do you feel the same way? Do you think it ruined that experience for you because it was so bad, or what?
I'd probably watch the rest of the show, but dude, like this ending is just like it really feels like it didn't validate a lot of my feelings towards the show, and I think it might hurt my potential rewatch or reread of the manga. Yeah, I don't know. I can't say I would or I wouldn't, but I'm leaning on no. I'm leaning on that I won't rewatch any of this. I think it's that bad. But I still think as a whole it's better than Game of Thrones because that's just like I'll never ever read the Game of Thrones books unless like I'm certain the ending is completely rewritten.
It isn't. It won't be.
Yeah,
I don't
so
think it will be.
Well,
yeah.
it won't be written at all. Like I don't think
Yeah,
that you need to worry about
exactly. You don't
that. I
got to
mean, like,
worry about that because it won't be rewritten
yeah.
at all.
I think that the ending will be different because there are like a lot of characters in the Game of Thrones books that are literally not in the show, and so I kind of like my theory about Game of Thrones is that like the ending, like he, people have been saying like, oh, he like told them how it ended, so this is like the same ending, but like it just doesn't make sense. There are like literally characters like the only way that this could be the ending is if like there are just like every character that's not in the show that's in the books just died like for no reason. I don't see that happening. My theory is that like there are two characters that like they combined into Daenerys, and that's why like Daenerys in particular has like really bad execution in like the last season. So I'm like kind of optimistic that like if the books ever finish, that like they'll be better than the show. But that could just be me coping, and also I don't think they're gonna get finished anyway. So like
Anyway, we could save that
I'm
for
not optimistic.
we could save that for our Game of Thrones manga discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just like at least Attack on Titan, like, Aaron dying and all of that. Like there was a level of satisfaction there that I think we all felt like, okay, Aaron's dead, Paradise is fine, everyone, got to live through that experience and defeat the enemy, but it just felt like they never needed to be in that situation to begin with, and that there was no benefits to being in that situation, and one guy decided that that was the best case scenario. Well, in Game of Thrones, it was just across the board, just a trash can dumpster fire. Nothing made sense. This one, I just have a lot of questions. Game of Thrones, just absolute start to finish, terrible.
Levi had the best story. That's why he was in the wheelchair. He's gonna become king.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I like for this episode, I did like go back and like read some parts of the manga to like see if like my initial reactions about it not making sense, like if like rereading them, like I stuck by my opinions, and I did, but I didn't like reread the whole thing. I just sort of like was like, oh, I want to like remember how this exact scene played out, like in specific, like particularly like the one that I like one of the ones that I looked back on was like Aaron's conversation with like Mikasa and Armin, because that's like a big one that I thought was kind of ruined by this, and like I kind of stand by it, but whatever. I don't know. I don't see myself like rewatching the whole thing, no, or rereading the whole thing or anything like that. But I could see myself like if like I see particularly like if someone is like, oh dude, like reread this chapter and like it might make the ending make more sense, like I would do that, just yeah, in hopes of like in hopes of the ending secretly being good, and I'm just too dumb to like understand it. But like I don't know, like I don't think I'm gonna reread the whole thing just to like find redeeming qualities,
Yeah,
which is sad.
I agree with that.
Like basically, like would I recommend this though? Like I would probably recommend this with like a large asterisk. Like I would say like, look, like this is a kind of show, or this is a kind of show where like the ending matters a lot and it's not good. But if like you are just interested in like seeing how it plays out, then go for it. But I would recommend this with an asterisk, because like there's a lot of good stuff. It's just that in the end you kind of feel empty because a lot of it.
All right. If no one else has anything to add, I think that's it for our manga conclusion of Attack on Titan. Follow us on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Spotify, and I believe we are signing off. Peace.
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 Later.